portion of the following program contains sports betting analysis. Fight IQ provides analysis and personal insights for entertainment purposes only. There are no guarantees inside the octagon. Please gamble responsibly. All wagers involve risk. Viewers are encouraged to bet within their means. Fight IQ and the ETB network are not responsible for any financial losses. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER.
They call it the puncher's chance for a reason. Because in the cage, logic can be shattered in a split second. But where the world sees luck, we see an opening. We're stripping away the emotion and looking at the math of the matchup. Every dog has its day, and every favorite has a price. It's time to separate the noise from the payday. Lock in. This is Fight IQ, the puncher's chance. Your guide to this weekend's best bets in MMA. And now, here's your host, Tom Albano.
All right, welcome everybody to special edition of Fight IQ, the Puncher's Chance, here on the Empty Event Podcast Network. It is UFC 330 night, a special fight night. It's numbered card fight night. So obviously we got big card coming up. We got two title fights coming up, which is actually a rarity for, or at least feels like a rarity for this year in the world of the Ultimate Fighting Championship. As usual for these special edition cards, I have Zain Bando with me. And Zain, I mean, two title fights tonight. Pretty big matchup for both Islam Makhachev and Ian Garry. Islam Makhachev's first title defense. Ian Garry obviously has had a lot of hype around him, and now it finally pays off with a title opportunity against a very formidable champion.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the main event as well tonight. It should be very interesting. Pretty cool stylistic matchup here. A lot of people are saying, with the narrative going around, Dagestan versus Ireland is the continuation of Khabib versus McGregor. That's up for debate. It seems these two are focused on their own fight. It should be interesting. The press conference this week was a little dull, but I just want to say this. I'm due for a big weekend in the UFC because I have not had a successful winning week in a little over a month. We were doing pretty well. We did pretty well on UFC 329. We were on a pretty good main event streak, which was snapped this past weekend in Vegas. So I'm looking for some better luck tonight, and I'm curious to not only break down this card with you, but just explore the historical significance. Should Makhachev be able to get win number 17? And then obviously a pretty big spot in the co-main event for both Mackenzie Dern and Gillian Robertson. I'm excited to break it down with you. I know there's been a lot of flack about this card. I know a lot of people aren't excited about this card, but we're here. We're a couple hours away from it. So thank you to almost 100 people that are already in here. We haven't even broken down anything yet. So you've come to the right place. If you need the last minute picks, predictions, or simply just analysis ahead of tonight's card from Xfinity Mobile Arena in Philadelphia. It's the UFC's first numbered event there since 2011, the first title fight that they brought back to the city since August of 2009. So looking very forward to it. And yeah, that's a little bit of a subtitle jab at the Philadelphia Inquirer this week, who continues to get incorrect that there's been more than two title fights hosted in the city. But there you go. So,
I mean, it's also the first time that they've even been to the city of Philadelphia since 2019. Edson Barboza, who competes on tonight's card, potentially in a retirement fight, was actually the headliner last time that they were there. He got knocked out by Justin Gaethje.
Yeah, that is true. That was early on in the ESPN era. I almost forgot about that. But
March 2019.
Yeah, it's been a long time, but nonetheless, though, we're here. We're excited, or at least I'm excited for some of the fights. I don't know if I could say I'm excited for the whole card, but I'm excited for the top half of it. Not sure how you feel, but excited to break it down with you. As again, we're hours away. The whole card is on Paramount Plus, so if you guys don't already know the drill, you should know the drill by now. And yeah, I'm excited to get started.
Absolutely. So obviously, like you said, the main card, kind of excited for. Prelims, I think, are going to be a very pick and choosy kind of prelims. In fact, my best bets article, which went up on Deadspin this morning, and I'll talk about for this card. Best bets, not really a lot from the prelim side of things, more so from the main card. But before we begin with any sort of breakdowns or anything, obviously we have the disclaimer from Callum McClurg at the beginning. This is for entertainment purposes only. We are not responsible for any profits or losses. I'll obviously take credit for the profits if you'd like. For the bets you make, we're here to just give advice, gamble responsibly. Make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. And when you subscribe, don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get notified of everything here at the Empty the Bench Podcast Network. That's every edition of Fight IQ, the Puncher's Chance, whether it be for numbered cards or for regular fight nights. Post shows. I'll be back on the air tonight around 1 a.m. Eastern for a UFC 330 post show, breaking everything down that happens tonight. Of course, when you hit that notification bell, you also get notified of all the other non-MMA stuff here at the Empty the Bench Podcast Network, like Bando's Breakdowns and Zanziger Part 2 and ETV Sports and Forever Power 5, which returns at the end of this month, and Football Forecast, which returns mid-next month. What else am I missing, Zan, from shows that you're on?
Oh, shows that I'm on, I think that's all of them. I mean, if you want to count ETV Lounge sometimes.
Yeah, ETV Lounge, that's another benchmark for this network.
But outside of that, I think you've listed every single show that I am a part of in some capacity. Some it's a full capacity where I'm the one driving the bus, and other ones it's a partial. So there you go. And you're on just as much stuff as me. I may be on a few more things than you, but you're just and then the one thing you forgot, which is the project we do together. And I promise, barring any
tough enough, but that only has about 2 more shows left for the season.
Yeah, so yeah, that's a seasonal show in itself. Before we get started, I'm just curious, and I don't know how well you've tracked your predictions this year, but how did you do last week? Because I went sub 500, and I thought last week's card was a bit of an easier card to pick, and apparently I was wrong. And then UFC 329, we went on a generational run for the McGregor-Holloway card, only losing 3 fights. So how is your momentum compared to mine, as I've had a bit of an up and down last couple weeks on the prediction market, if you will?
I did okay last week, actually. I was just above 500, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't have that bad of a week. Before we continue on with any more discussion, though, I forget youtube.com/ETB Network. That especially is for all you who are watching on any of the X platforms of ETB that we're broadcasting to. Shout out to all you guys. Like, repost, quote, post. Feel free to comment. Everybody on YouTube and X, feel free to comment and tell us what you think of our thoughts. Share your thoughts and predictions for this card. Share your best bets. And then, of course, follow us across social media at ETB Sport. At ETB Network. Zan at Zain Bando 99. Thomas J. Albano. And you can follow the shows that we do at Fight IQ ETB and at Bando's Breakdown. All right. Yeah, exactly, Zan. We will answer whatever you want to, whatever you guys want to comment. All right. But let's get right into the thick of things.
We actually have a special announcement first, though, before we can do any of that, because our YouTube channel a couple of days ago now reached a very important milestone, didn't it, Tom?
Yes, so we actually managed to hit 3,000 watch hours, along with the fact that we've now also increased to 1,160 subscribers. So the subscriber numbers continue to climb just as much as the watch hours have. So shout out to all of you who have helped us reach this goal. And yeah, it feels very surreal to have finally reached the goal, and big things coming to the network. I don't want to go into everything too much simply because it's not all my creation, and obviously we're still working out some final details, but yeah, big things happening.
Yeah, and specifically just to kind of piggyback on it, specifically the fine details that we're currently working out at the moment are super chats, super stickers, super thanks, channel memberships, tiers, perks, a merch store in the works, and so much more. And again, from Tom, from myself to everybody who's a part of the network in any capacity, whether behind the scenes or as talent, we thank all of you for all the support and shout out to the 146 of you already in here, and we haven't even broken down or picked any of the 12 fights on this card yet. So, without you guys, we wouldn't have an audience, and without you guys, there's a good chance we wouldn't be here. So, shout out to all of you guys who are already in here, taking some time out of your Saturday. A busy weekend for some. I'm almost positive as we're getting closer to the school year and that sort of thing. So, shout out to all of you guys who are already in here, and hopefully you can strap in and be along for the ride as we lead you into which should be an interesting UFC 330 card. So,
absolutely. All right. We spent way too much time talking, Zan. We got to get right into it. Preview begins. We're going to start with the main event. The welterweight championship is on the line. Islam Makhachev taking on Ian Machado Garry. As I said before, this is Islam Makhachev's first events of the UFC welterweight championship. Since winning the title. He won it at UFC 322 at MSG this past November, topping Jack Della Maddalena. He's also, as you mentioned, Zan, going for history on this card. If he wins this fight, that is 17 straight victories, and that will eclipse Anderson Silva for the most consecutive wins, the longest winning streak in UFC history. Islam Makhachev only has one loss on his UFC record, one loss just in his MMA record in general. Same goes for Ian Machado Garry. His only loss actually came in December of 2024 when he took a short notice title eliminator against Shavkat Rakhmonov. Unfortunately, Shavkat Rakhmonov just going through a really tumultuous, depressing last couple of years. We haven't seen him in the octagon. Presenting new opportunity now for Ian Garry, coming off of 2025 where he nearly dominated Carlos Prates, though he almost got finished in that fight in the 5th round, and then getting a victory over the former welterweight champion Belal Muhammad later on in the year. So big opportunity for Ian Machado Garry. You mentioned before, Zan, a lot of, people have mentioned, and even the UFC has played into it with that little custom poster with the eyes of Makhachev being Russian flag, eyes of Garry being the Irish flag, playing into the old UFC 229 poster with Khabib Nurmagomedov and Conor McGregor. I don't see it that way. This is a much different fight, much different circumstance, not as much different circumstances, not as much with the rivalry intensity.
No, and I think and I think you bring up a great point. I don't mean to interrupt, but I think it's important I say this. I do think for the most part that the mutual respect on the Garry side towards Makhachev is clearly there. He knows what a huge opportunity this is. He's admitted it several times this week that he knows that he's taking on the best fighter in the sport, and he's not taking him lightly whatsoever. He even admitted this week that it would be a mistake to think anything otherwise. So it's clear that there's a bit of a mutual respect there. Makhachev, I think he's playing the heel a little bit. He's like, none of the fans like Ian Garry and that sort of thing. And Makhachev has been a little vocal about it. But overall, though, I think this is more about the actual fight itself than a rivalry, which is why I agree with you in the sense that I think it's different. I don't think you can compare it.
Much different. You're also talking a situation, where a couple of years ago, like it was yesterday, it's actually 8 years ago, Conor McGregor entered that fight on a 2-year hiatus because he had taken some time off to go and pursue the boxing match with Floyd Mayweather. Ian Garry hasn't fought since November, but neither guy has fought since November. That was the last time that both of them were in action. So it's fairly even in that regard.
And they were a week apart.
Correct.
Their respective fights. Yeah.
Correct. And, this is, Ian Garry, yeah, he needs to have respect. I mean, Islam Makhachev is the number 1 ranked pound-for-pound fighter in the UFC, earning that distinction after Ilia Topuria and Alex Pereira both lost on the White House card. And if he wins tonight, as I said, he sets a new UFC record. He already has a lightweight title reign under him where he made 4 defenses, and this will be his first defense of a welterweight. He's going to further cement his legacy with a big win in this championship matchup. And, he'll prove why he is the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter in the UFC with a victory tonight. Now, that having said that, he can't completely overlook Garry.
No, he can't, because I talked about it on my show. I don't know if you had a chance to listen to it yesterday, but I said the best path to victory for Garry is trying to get him out of there early, because I don't think Gary's fought the caliber of grappler that Makhachev is, and I think the last place he wants to see himself is on the mat. So, because it's going to be harder for him to get up unless he's really worked on his takedown defense, which if he has, the fight is very interesting. I will say that for sure.
And Dan, I guess that's a perfect transition, because when we're talking about breaking down this matchup, and I won't spoil it right now, but this is one of my best bet picks of the night. And I was talking about, this matchup on Monday on Fight IQ. I was talking about in the Deadspin piece. This matchup ultimately comes down to distance management versus the pressure that Makhachev brings.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. Yep.
Ian Garry has length on him, and that has helped him to a number of victories so far in his UFC run. And he's got to be able to work distance well. As you mentioned, he knows that Makhachev. Now, with Makhachev, it's the same thing that I talked about with Usman or Magomedov earlier this month, where, Islam Makhachev has power. He's not a complete wrestler like Khabib was. He's got some kickboxing to him. I mean, right. we saw it with Usman earlier on July 31st against Archie Colgan in the PFL Long Island card. We've seen it with Islam before with his knockout of Alexander Volkanovski. But obviously his bread and butter is going to be the grappling, and that's probably what the strategy is going to be, because he is taking on a pretty talented kickboxer in Ian Machado Garry. So Garry, what he's got to be able to do is use his distance. He's got to be able to work along the outside. He's got to be able to prepare himself for any takedown defense from Makhachev coming in. He's got to be able to. Ian Garry's got some nice leg kicks to him. He's got some solid body kicks, and obviously he's gonna have a good jab to him, considering the length that he has. And then when Makhachev does try to come in, he's got to punish him for trying to come in. I mean, Ian Garry is an excellent counter striker. My question is he going to be able to do this for a full 25 minutes? I highly doubt that.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I said that he needs to get him out of there early, because the longer the fight goes, the more in favor to the champion, in my opinion.
That's the thing. Like, Islam Makhachev, I don't want to say he's going to be pressuring to the point where he's going to make a lazy, sloppy mistake. But
right.
I think it's going to be enough pressure that Ian Machado Garry, I think, is going to welt under some of that pressure. And I think very early on, the first couple of takedown attempts, I'm confident that – I shouldn't say confident. I think Garry can, shrug some of them off. I think he has enough takedown defense where if Islam gets him up against the fence, he'll be able to hold him off for a little while. But eventually, I think Makhachev's pressure is just going to be too much for a lot of athletes in the UFC. And
I was going to say too, and I think that's an excellent point, because in those scramble positions, Gary's got to be on the offensive. He can't just sit there, hope he can sprawl out of it, stand up, and again, he's going to move by any means necessary, regardless of what position he's in, because you can't just stay stagnant against the guy where all he wants to do is use his wrestling to neutralize position. So,
yeah, no, if this fight goes to the ground, that's going to spark a lot of big trouble, because you're going to have Ian Garry struggling to get up. Obviously, he's got longer limbs than Makhachev, but Makhachev, I don't know, man. Makhachev, when he gets fighters down, he's like a weighted blanket. It's hard for a fighter to get up on his own will when Makhachev is taking that weighted blanket-like pressure and putting it on somebody and controlling them from the top position. And if Ian Garry's not careful with his defenses and his attempts to try and get up, he could walk right into an easy submission attempt.
Yeah, and this is where I was going back and forth on my show, but I ultimately went with the conservative approach with this, and I'm just going to say it. I'm taking Makhachev by decision. I think he has the capability to finish Garry. Could he very easily do so? Yeah, but I just think that Garry knows that he's in for a long night. He knows that he's going to do all he can to try to win the title, even if it's in heroic fashion. And I just don't see Garry getting finished. I think he knows that he's got to be ready for any scenario, and I don't think he's worried about, potentially getting stopped. And I do think, it could very well look similar, and I know they're two different fighters, but I am almost thinking that this fight could look very similar to when Makhachev defeated Umar Nurmagomedov about like 11 to 13 months ago or so. So I don't know. I think it's an interesting fight, but I do think there's a clear path to victory for both guys, and Gary's especially is abundantly clear. So
yeah, Ian Garry's path, I kind of like what you said before. It's abundantly clear. He's got to be able to use his power early on, get Makhachev out of there first or second round. I haven't seen enough from Ian Garry to suggest to me that he has the capability to do that. To
be honest with you, I think we didn't see enough in the Protest fight, to be fair, because nobody expected it to go the full 25 minutes, and him getting rocked and having to overcome adversity was a little bit of a tell-all surprise.
Yeah, but I think with the Protest fight, I think the problem with that one is bad IQ, no pun intended, fight IQ on Carlos Prates. He fired off his shots and got power, but it was just way too late. I think if he had gotten extra time or done it a little earlier in the fight, Carlos Prates could have gotten Ian Garry out of there. And Ian Garry, the win over Bilal, obviously has a lot of credit to it, but I haven't seen anything from Ian Garry the last couple of years that suggests to me that he can have a performance against Islam like Alex Volkanovski did in the first fight, where it was razor thin edge close that you could have had it for either man. And I don't know, man. I'm just getting these weird feelings, because I think the other thing that I really haven't talked too much about, I don't know how much you have too, some of what Ian Garry's interactions with the media of late. Obviously, he hasn't put himself into James Lynch has been really sticking it to him in some of his videos of late.
Yeah, I have noticed that. What do you think of his fight-only approach to the media this week? What I don't like about it is, which he knows because he's a major star, like he should know that, like not me and you, but the people who are physically
this is the availability time that we get with him.
Yeah, right. So of course, like they're gonna ask him stuff about like what he's posted and stuff because it's in the news. He said some very precarious things I'd rather not fully get into. Those are his opinions, but he should know that he's going to get asked about them at the very least.
Right.
And technically, as a subject, you can't police us as to what we're supposed to ask you. Technically, per our responsibilities, we're allowed to and supposed to ask these athletes whatever we feel is remotely important. Now, sometimes the questions may not be very good, and that happens sometimes. But to say, "Oh, let's focus on the fight," like I don't think they have the authority to say that, because then there's the other token of that, which is you don't have to answer every question that's asked of you either. So,
Right.
I mean that's also more than acceptable as well. I think by tomorrow morning, more people are gonna be worried about the fight than any of the stuff he said before. So I think most of it is gonna blow over.
Right. The other thing to add to that is, now we've had situations where PRs could tell us, hey, you can't ask about this. And that's a whole other situation in itself. But this wasn't that kind of case.
No, this was not
the case of a fighter himself telling the media, don't ask me about blank.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that, is a little awkward and we haven't really seen much of before. And like I said, I don't know, man. Islam Makhachev's number one pound for pound. And, as I said earlier, now that Ilya and Alex have both lost at the White House card, this is his opportunity to solidify the argument. If he wins tonight, there's no more arguing.
Oh, no, there's not. There's no more arguing at all. Nope.
So, obviously, as I said earlier, I haven't seen much from Garry to suggest otherwise. And again, I really don't think for 25 full minutes he's going to be able to get Islam off of his legs and off of his back. I think it's going to be a case where Islam's going to take him down in every round. I think Garry has enough talent to stave off submission attempts. If there's a finish, it might come late in the fight. But like you, I'm taking the conservative approach. I'm going to go Islam Makhachev by decision. And I'm going to say I don't think there's going to be any 48-47s. I think it's going to be a clear decision. 49-46s, maybe a 50-45 in there across the board.
Okay. And just stripping the X's and O's out of this, because I have to get your opinion on this. It's been a really weird year for the UFC in terms of main events. As you know, some fights have not gone the way that the general public has thought they'd go. Particular examples, obviously Freedom 250, and of course, Hamzat versus Strickland. Would you be surprised at all if we had any sort of mass controversy on our hands in the main event tonight or anything like that?
When you say mass controversy, are we talking like controversial split decision? Or are we talking
yeah, exactly. Very similar to a Hamzat Strickland type of thing.
I'm going to say no, like you said, just because of the UFC main events that we've seen. But, you think about some of the upcoming main events that the UFC is going to have, like Van Pantoja 2, Sarukian's fight with Rufi in the co-main event of that card. Also title fights potentially between Volk and Evloev and Yamarov 3. I feel like one of those would present for us more controversy than this kind of fight. I'm confident Makhachev can get the job done. Like, would I be surprised considering the trend? No, I just don't think it's going to be this fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. And I'm just going to say one more thing on this. I'm not sure if you agree, but I'm just going to say it right now. I think if Ian Garry wins tonight, I think the rematch is the only fight you do.
If Ian Garry wins, yes.
Yeah, I think so, because given Makhachev's legacy, given that he's on the cusp of history, and given that he's entering this fight as the number one pound for pound guy in the world, I don't think the UFC would take that opportunity from him away to rewrite a potential wrong. So
now the thing is, what happens if Islam Makhachev wins? You got Prates right there. You got Morales right there. Morales actually weighed in as the backup fighter. Although, as I talked about on my show last Monday, Zain, Ali, the manager of Islam Makhachev, is proposing that Justin move up to welterweight for his last fight and Justin does a retirement fight challenging Islam for the welterweight gold.
I'd be very interested in that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you do that, and then I guess
And if you don't do that, you do the Michael Morales fight. That's what I think.
If they go the Justin Islam route, do you give Michael Morales the winner, or in a case where Justin would win, do Morales protest for a vacant belt?
Probably a vacant or interim of some sort would make the most sense. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I don't want to go too much on a tangent. We're already about halfway through the show. Let's get to the co-main event of the evening. Mackenzie Dern defending the strawweight title against Gillian Robertson. By the way, Zain, first women's title fight this year for the UFC. Not been an active year for the women's champions.
Yeah, if you would have told me that this would be the first fight of the year for the female category, I don't know if I would have believed it.
Now, of course, it wasn't the first scheduled.
Right.
We were supposed to get Amanda and Kayla in the January card, but injury to Kayla has forced postponement. We're expecting Amanda Kayla to take place sometime before the start of next year. But as of this moment, we still have no updates as to when that fight is going to officially take place. No word. Is there any word yet on Weili or Valentina?
We have no idea. If I had something for you, I'd tell you.
I mean, no, I'm just sighing because, with Dern and Robertson, and I'm not saying I don't like this fight. I do like this fight. But when you look at the strawweight scene as a whole, man, that division's missing Weili Zhang.
Well, Tom, how do we feel about Robertson's winning streak? Her opponents are combined 0-19.
And there you go. I was going to say, I love Gillian Robertson, and this is a little bit of an update of research from, you were watching the weigh-in show yesterday, weren't you?
Oh, yeah. I was watching the weigh-in show yesterday. I saw all the mistakes they made about the fighters who didn't fight for a title, even though some of those guys on that.
Are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah. Those were some of the where I'm like, this is obvious. Okay, yeah. This is a bold take that we have on YouTube from Janice1_1. What do we think of this? He says Prime Leon Edwards would beat both Islam and Ian Garry.
Islam, disagree. Garry, agree.
Yeah, Garry agree, and we're talking agree, not even remotely close.
Prime Leon Edwards would beat Ian Garry, right? Which is again why I'm saying I think Islam. I'm agreeing with you, Zain, that it's Islam by decision. I don't think it's a close decision. I think this.
No, I don't think so either.
I think Islam handles tonight very easily.
I don't think so either. I think you're right.
But going to what you said about the 0-19. Hold on, let me plug my ears for a second. I gotta throw the flag. I love Gillian Robertson. I love the streak she's on. A combined 0-19 record from her opponents in her last 5. Ugh.
Let me take a guess. Do you think the UFC matchmakers knew that going in when they were booking this, or do you think they had no idea?
No, I don't think they really intended much. I mean, if you look at the last 5 that Gillian Robertson, she's coming in off a victory over Amanda Lemos. And Amanda Lemos is a former title challenger. So it's not like she doesn't, it's not like that's bad competition.
But could you make the argument that she beat a different version of Amanda Lemos than, say, 2021 or 2022?
Yes, I'll agree on that. Marina Rodriguez, she's retired.
Right.
Luana Pinheiro, her last, she's actually lost 4 straight. She lost to Tisha Pennington in May of 2025 and hasn't fought since. Michelle Waterson Gomez, she's retired. And again, the Michelle Waterson of the 2020s was not the Michelle Waterson of the 2010s.
No, not even close.
And Polyana Viana, she's still around, but she's lost 4 straight and 5 of her last 6.
Yeah, that'll do it.
So, I like Gillian Robertson. I don't want to take anything away from her, But
I do too.
But this is something you can't ignore. We even talk about this stuff with contender series of participants, tough participants. The opponent history is something you have to consider. And meanwhile, when you talk about Mackenzie Dern, this is her first title defense as well. She won the championship. It was the then vacant championship when she beat Verna Jandiroba back at UFC 321. Verna Jandiroba, still highly ranked. She actually beat Tabitha Ricci back in April. Dern is the only loss on Jandiroba's record since 2022. Amanda Ibas, she's lost 3 straight in 4 of her last 5. Lupi Godinez, that's a solid win, but still 2-3 in her last. This is what I'm talking about, Zan, of like Weili Zhang. I hope for her next fight she goes back to strawweight because this division's hurting.
Yeah, it is. Her not being champion certainly makes the division a lot lighter than what it used to be. I'm just going to say this, Tom. If Robertson doesn't keep this standing and make it an ugly fight like she's claiming it will be, she even admitted, she's like, I'm not here to play jiu-jitsu. I'm here to play violence. If this fight is not violent, I am solely confident in my prediction of a second-round armbar for Dern. I don't see how this fight is as ugly as what Robertson is proclaiming it to be, and I think Dern knows that if she follows her game plan, that this is sort of a layup.
I mean, I can't take away, though, from Gillian Robertson because Gillian Robertson, she's got decent jiu-jitsu game to her as well. She's just not the decorated jiu-jitsu queen like Mackenzie Dern is. But in terms of striking, I mean, one thing that has constantly surrounded the narrative of Mackenzie Dern, Zan, is that her striking has gotten so much better over the years.
It sure has. She went from being a very you know this because you followed the game a long time. She started
when she came around in 2018, 2019, her striking was terrible.
No, I know. I was going to say she was stagnant. She was like a moving target. She was only a grappler, and then all of a sudden, post-COVID, basically is when it was like a complete transformation.
2 words, Zan. Jason Perillo.
That'll do it.
Jason Perillo. She switched over to Jason Perillo, and Jason Perillo, credit to him, he has done fantastic work with improving her striking. But as you mentioned, Gillian Robertson, I think she's got more power to her strike, and I think she is.
I do too.
And I think Dern's jiu-jitsu, when you look at the comparison between the two, Dern's ground game, her grappling, and the edge she has over Robertson in that is greater than the edge that Robertson has over Dern in terms of striking.
Valid. That's valid.
I think this one is going to go to the ground. I think Robertson will be able to defend well. I think this will be a closer fight than the main event title fight, but I still think it is a comfortable victory for Dern. Rather than 50-45s and 49-46s, I'll say 49-46 and 48-47s.
Okay, so the only spot we disagree is I think there's going to be a finish and you don't. So
right. I think if there is a finish, Sam, I think Robertson has enough that it's not going to be till the second half of the fight. I don't see an early finish.
I'm just going to make a bold statement now, and it may not even come true, but I'm just going to say it. Should Robertson win, I think it's better for business and the UFC overall just because the Canada market has hurt for so long since GSP retired that this would be a big deal for Canada if she won.
That's fair. I'm going to do my own bold take on this. I can't even say bold compared to you, but like we were just talking about with the level of competition, I think even if Robertson or Dern win a controversial decision, you can't do a rematch next. Weili's got to come back down, and Weili's got to fight the winner of this fight.
I agree, and I'm just going to say this now. Whoever Weili fights, I think Weili's getting her belt back. What do you think?
She's the strawweight queen for a reason.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
She's the strawweight queen for a reason. People still consider her. It's like you've got Weili and Joanna as the top 2 ever UFC women's strawweight fighters of all time.
I don't think there's any debate. It's those 2 and everybody else.
It's
Yeah.
no, I wouldn't say it's those two, then Rose, then maybe,
Rhodes. Yep. Yep.
and then maybe Carla for the first champion significance, and then everybody else.
Yeah, I think those are the correct four. Yeah, I would agree.
So those are our predictions for the two title fights. Like you said, we agree on the winners, and we're pretty even in terms of the main event prediction. It's just a matter of, what we think is going to happen in the co-main event of the evening. Before we get to everything else, you kind of mentioned the announcement before. The Empty the Bench Network is pleased to announce that the network has surpassed 3,000 watch hours on YouTube, and we cannot thank you, the viewers, for your outstanding support in making this milestone possible. Thanks to viewers like you, in the coming days and next week, we will be rolling out all the details about super chats, super stickers, super thanks, channel membership tiers, perks, merch store, and so much more. We thank you again for your support of ETB Network programming, and shout out to the 200 plus of you who are tuning in to today's stream. We thank you so much.
Yeah.
In the words of John Anik, we don't take your viewership for granted.
No, we do not.
All right. Rest of the main card, you got a couple of interesting matchups. Obviously not the greatest of ones compared to recent numbered cards, but
this is certainly not a top heavy main card. I would say this main card was tailor made for hardcores tonight. To be quite honest, because if you know ball, you know that there are some sneaky matchups on this card that not everybody may catch.
Right, correct. But not even, you mentioned top heavy. It's basically title fight, main and co-main heavy, and then there's everything else.
Yeah, it's almost like a glorified fight night past the main and co-main event.
So we've got Jalen Turner, and there have been some shakeups with this card as well. Obviously, you kind of mentioned before. The card's actually going to start at 5:30 Eastern tonight because there's only 3 early prelim fights tonight.
Yeah, and Tom, it wouldn't be a card from Philadelphia without changes. As you know, there was the famous UFC 133 switcheroo where every fight had a fallout until the week of the fight. So this would not be a Philly card without changes. So
well, you've got a matchup, a veteran versus an up-and-comer here, and Jalen Turner taking on Cowie Fernandez. Turner obviously had his retirement. UFC 300, he lost to Renato Macando. Comes back in March of 2025, gets submitted by Ignacio Bahamondes, but he's entering tonight off a TKO from last December against Edson Barboza, who we're going to be talking about in just a little bit.
Yeah.
But he's taking on Cowie Fernandez. Cowie Fernandez is somebody who, by the way, doesn't have a Wikipedia entry. Cowie Fernandez.
He might if he wins this fight tonight.
He will when he wins this fight. Cowie Fernandez actually has let's see, 1, 2, 3. This is going to be his 6th UFC fight. Actually, you talk about changes. Cowie Fernandez was supposed to compete on the Paris card. Oh no, pardon me, it was 2025. He was supposed to compete he did compete on the Paris card against Terry Hardwick. That was his last time in action. First round finish via a calf kick. He was supposed to face Farah Ziam on that card, but Ziam ended up pulling out and they made an opponent switch on him. So
That's
this is
right. I do remember that. But this is a solid 3-fight win streak, and DeCasse, which was his last loss, that wasn't a horrible loss either. A lot of people thought he actually won that fight. So this isn't a bad 4-fight stretch that he's been on as of late. So
no. And it feels like, Zan, when we talk about, some of these fights tonight, there seems to be some sort of, I don't know if you noticed this, like a theme of reach advantage, because you got some fighters with some significant reach. Jalen Turner, Ian Garry, Neil Magny's on the early card. So the tail of the tape. He's got Jalen Turner has a 5-inch height advantage and a 2.5-inch reach advantage, but 5 inches in height.
Yeah, I mean, 5 inches in height obviously is a huge advantage when you're talking about, when you break down the wealth of experience of both guys. That's certainly going to hurt rather one way or another.
Correct, but I guess I'm just worried about, some of the performances. Like Jalen Turner obviously has the experience edge. I'm just concerned about some of the performances he's had of late in the octagon.
Yeah, I'm actually taking the conservative approach once again here, and I think Turner wins a decision, but it won't be the most impressive win he's had or anything. I think Fernandez maybe gets one round in there, but I honestly think the best path for Fernandez to win is if he finishes them, which, as you know, Turner is a very difficult guy to get out of there early, which is why I think the longer the fight goes, the more it favors the tarantula. So
I want to agree. I think the leg kicks are going to be the weapon of choice for Fernandez here. I just don't know if he's going to be able to chop Turner down like he did Harry Hardwick.
Right.
So I'm going to agree with you, actually. I'm going to say maybe not the greatest of fights, but I do see Fernandez getting the victory in what some are considering a bit of a minor upset. It's weird. Like, you see MMA media people picking Fernandez, and people are still saying that it's a minor upset.
Oh, we actually disagree. I like Turner winning this fight. So we have the opposite, but we have the same method of victory. We both think that the judges will be involved.
My bad. Yeah, so I'm going to disagree. I'm going to say Fernandez gets a bit of a minor upset here. Moving on to, here's an interesting one. Mansur Abdul Malik taking on Dustin Stoltzfus. And isn't Dustin one of these competitors that, was a fill-in?
Yeah, he's 3-7 in the UFC. He's fighting in Philly. It's like a golden opportunity, but Abdul Malik is a stud. So I'm a little bit worried for him. So
I'm very worried for him. I don't think this is a great matchup for somebody who has the record and momentum like Stoltzfus has. Actually, he is not a fill-in. This is actually a matchup that they really booked. And here's the thing about Mansur. He's coming in off this loss to Yusri Belgarui. Yusri was a stud kickboxer. Everyone is talking about the momentum, the stock of Mansur lost with that. Yusri was an accomplished kickboxer. He's a former Glory title challenger. No, or is he a former Glory champion?
Champion, I'm pretty sure.
You
might have to fact check me on that.
Yeah, I'm fact checking now. No, he lost both fights, but both title fights he fought. Do you know who his opponent was?
No, not off the top of my head.
Alex Pereira.
Yeah, that'll explain it. Yeah, that'll explain it.
I'm sorry. People who are crapping on Mansur and saying fraud check. If he loses to Dustin, that's a fraud check. Yusri Belgarui, no, that's not a fraud check loss. I'm sorry. That's ridiculous.
No, it's not.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Dustin, I don't want to play into the Billy Ray Goff corner strategy, Zan, but he's got to use his distance. He's got to be able to keep away from Mansur's power. This is one of those fights, Zan, where Mansur is going to pursue the heavy first, early second round finish. If it gets to the later on in the fight, we've seen Mansur tire before. And that's the one thing I will give credit for people criticizing is Mansur did start to gas a little bit the more that fight with Yusri went on. Dustin's got to be able to do that. The problem is I don't think he can.
Right. I don't think he can either. So, yeah, I like Abdul Malik in this spot as well. I think we're in agreement there. I like Abdul Malik to finish Stoltzfus in the second round by TKO. What do you think?
Yeah, first or second round TKO for me.
Okay.
I completely agree with you on that one. Main card is actually going to open with Zan. We said that we were going to mention him, Edson Barboza, in what could potentially be the final walk of to the octagon of his long MMA career, long UFC career, and he's taken on Esteban Ribovics.
Yeah, this is a bad matchup for Barboza. If this was 15 years ago, I'd be riding the Brazilian all day, but this to me is a fight that builds Ribovics' stock, and I don't see how he loses. In fact, I have an exact prediction for this fight. I like Ribovics to win this fight with the second round TKO after overcoming some adversity in round 1.
Yeah, I can't say that this is a complete, worst fight, worst, matchup for Barboza, because Barboza can
It's not,
still.
but it's not. But to be fair, Tom, looking at the betting line, Barboza is a pretty massive underdog.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing, Zan. I'm not disagreeing on that. I think that Ribovic is the favorite.
No. I was simply just adding to your point. I wasn't trying to disagree with you. That's all.
Okay. My point is, though, that I think that Ribovic is the favorite for a reason, and I am going to go with Ribovic in this fight. I just think that Barboza, we've seen him take a punch, and we've seen him prepare for war. He's been in some memorable octagon fights, and honestly, this is still a sleeper pick for fight of the night.
It is for sure.
But Barboza is aging, obviously. We've seen his chin fail before in the last several years. When he fought last time in Philly, as I mentioned, Gaethje knocked him out. And I believe Edson Barboza got finished in his last fight.
I'm almost positive you're right.
Jalen Turner.
Yeah.
He hasn't fought since the Jalen Turner fight. This is his first time since then.
Yeah, that is it's pretty wild to think about. And speaking of, let me just double check on this here for a second.
So he's actually lost his last 3. Before the Turner loss, he dropped decisions to Drakkar Klose and Lerone Murphy. Those aren't bad losses, but they are indicating that when he's taken on maybe an up-and-comer like an Esteban Ribovic, and we know Ribovic can go. He and Daniel
that's right. I was at the close fight. I do remember how lackluster he looked in that.
Yeah, and the thing is with Ribovic, we've seen how well he can go. He and Daniel Zellhuber have the 2024 fight of the year, of course, in the Sphere.
Oh, yeah, and I was going to ask you this. Why do you think, or maybe is this strategic, are you surprised Ribovic didn't end up on the Noche card? I was a little bit surprised when they booked this that it was in Philly and not in Arizona.
Yeah, a little bit, but I think they needed some name power and up-and-comers and veterans like Barboza. They needed some for this card because, as you mentioned, this card's not exactly the greatest on paper for a numbered card.
That's valid.
Yeah, I think what's going to have to happen, and I talked about it in the Deadspin piece, Barboza, he's got to be able to use his range, use his kicks. Ribovic, it's just a matter of cutting off the cage and bringing the pressure. And if he does that, I think he can even find a finish. I'm going to say Ribovic wins, and I'm going to say he gets the finish late round 2, early round 3.
Okay, so we are in agreement that there will be a finish in that fight. Okay, that makes a whole lot of sense. And yeah, I like Ribovic in the second round. So who knows? We could very well be right. So,
are there any prelims on this card that are noteworthy to you?
Well, I would say for sure. I mean, if you look way far down the card, looking at the first fight of the night, even I think Jeremiah Wells from Philly, as you might know, has a very stiff test. Urabai is no slouch, and I would be very surprised if Wells came out victorious. I'm also excited to see how Vicente Luque looks. Obviously, we know Tresean Gore pretty well from The Ultimate Fighter a couple of years ago. That's an interesting one. And Tobias versus Fernando is a hardcore fight if I've ever seen one. There's some sneaky prelims on here. Are there any that stand out to you that maybe I didn't mention?
Well, you mentioned the Jeremiah Wells fight. I think the fight after that on the early prelims, Neil Magny against Ramiz Brahmaj. I think Brahmaj is an up-and-comer that they have some stock in. And it feels very strange to see Neil Magny on the early prelim card.
Yeah, given how long he's been in the UFC, yeah, I would agree. I thought he'd be on the main prelim portion.
Vicente Luque is interesting against Tresean Gore simply from the fact that Luque, this is his second go-around at middleweight. He went to the weight class earlier this year, fighting Kelvin Gastelum, got the submission victory. Now, if he wins, he's already got a win against the former interim title challenger in Gastelum and finished him. Obviously, the Kelvin Gastelum of now is not the Kelvin Gastelum from the late 2010s. But if he's able to get a victory over a younger fighter like Tresean Gore, that should give us some significance in that this can be a true rebirth of sorts for Vicente Luque up at 185.
Yeah, I agree. That's very well said.
I think Charles Johnson versus Eduardo Henrique. This is a catchweight fight. This is a short notice bout. I think that smells of fireworks. Charles Johnson's just a dog at flyweight, and he's always in some great fights, and he's got some victories. He's beaten Joshua Van.
Yeah. Not only did he beat Joshua Van, it's arguably the best win that Charles Johnson has had to date. So
absolutely,
you want to talk about staying in the title picture. This is the one that Johnson needs to win to show that Van fight wasn't a fluke, because eventually I'm sure Van wants that one back. I know that they like to talk some smack every couple of months, and it's a fight that I would be very interested in. I think it would be a fresh title fight for a division that needs fresh title fights, and I think Van would be ready to go. You want to talk about Van's psyche going into this Pantoja fight? I think he would be very revved and ready to go, if you will, should the Charles Johnson rematch ever materialize. So I'm glad you did mention that.
Thank you. And I will add in the early prelim as well. I will add that, the featured prelim as well against Chidi Njoku and Joel Alvarez, although my momentum for that fight has kind of taken a hit just simply because I don't know. I was really concerned that Chidi weighed in at the last minute and almost missed weight for the fight. Something didn't seem right there.
No, something didn't seem right there at all. But we have a comment in here. This person says they're on a Luque submission tonight. Hey, what do we think of this? Given the statistics,
Tresean Gore is a young fighter, and I appreciate him from Zain from Tough Enough and the series that we've watched with Tough. Having said that. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to give the thumbs up for that. I think Vicente Luque can get the submission on Tresean. He was able to get it on Kelvin.
I am taking Gore, but I wouldn't be surprised if Luque was able to get a sub.
Really? You're going with Gore?
I am, yeah.
Okay. I just don't know if
that's my unofficial dark pick of the card.
Okay. So, I think there is going to come a point where a young up-and-comer at middleweight is going to be able to get one on Vicente Luque. I don't know if Tresean Gore is that guy.
We shall see. That's why they do this, because we don't know until they step in there, right? So
that's fair. See. As far as I was talking about with the featured prelim, Joel Alvarez, he's going to want, he had a 4-fight win streak. He ended up losing to Yaroslav Amosov. I don't think that's a terrible loss. Chidi's lost his last 2. He hasn't looked the greatest. I like Chidi, from the old Bellator days, but I just think Joel Alvarez.
Yeah, I would say Alvarez is my most confident pick on the prelims for sure. I've got Alvarez winning by submission in the second round.
So. I'm gonna go with a finish for Alvarez. I think late round 2.
Okay.
I actually, Rain commented back. Yeah, he says most friends are with you, Zain. That are on Gore. Well, I'm with Rain here. I'm going with Luque.
Okay, fair enough.
All right. And speaking of, that's going to bring us. We're getting close to the end of the show, so that's going to bring us to the best bet segment of the show. So,
do you have an unofficial record for this segment? How are we doing? Do you know? Do you know how you're doing? Or do you not? Or do you not fully know?
I don't fully know. I'll have to go back. And I will. And again, when I talk about best bets, I'm also talking about, some of the stuff that I do with Deadspin. So I got to figure out the differences with that. But Zain, normally, and this is the same thing I did with my Deadspin piece, I do the 3, right? Well, not 1, not 2, not 3. We're going 4 bets tonight.
Okay.
Simply because 3 of my bets come from the main card. I didn't want the prelims completely out on it, so we have a bonus, or as a teacher would say, extra credit play for
this valid. All right.
Actually, let me pull the Let me pull up the DraftKings. There we go. So we're going to start with best bets, Zan. We're going to start with the main event. As I mentioned, Islam Makhachev, I'm more than confident, is going to get the win here. I don't think Ian Garry is that guy to be able to hold Makhachev off for a full 25 minutes, and I don't think he's going to be able to avoid the ground a full 25 minutes, and I don't think he's going to be able to get him out of there, the defending champ, in the first or second round. And as you said, the longer that fight goes, the more it's going to play into Makhachev's favor. I'm going to do something a little interesting, though, Zan. Okay. I'm going to do a point, something you only do with DraftKings or Caesars. I'm going to do a point spread play. I'm going to do -9.5. Now, what that means, again, going over this, when we do the point spreads thing. If a fighter wins via KO, submission, or disqualification, then bets placed on that fighter on the point spread will be settled as a win. So if Makhachev gets any finish on Garry, it's an automatic win. If the fight goes to the scorecards, then it's going to be the combined total point difference. So with -9.5, if it was 3 49-46s across the board, that's 3, 3, and 3, that's 9, I lose. Which means first of all, I need one of the judges to not have 48-47. I can't have any 48-47 scorecards on this play if the fight goes to distance. Okay. And then I need at least one judge to have 50-45. But I am so confident in Makhachev winning a clear decision and dominating this main event, I'm willing to do the point spread play. And I'm only willing to do that because I think there is a chance you could see a finish. I'm like you, I'm going the conservative. I just don't see any value in a money line play unless I'm doing a parlay. I like the -120.
See, if I were to pick this and it was my bet, I would take the over in the fight.
You would do the over, the total rounds over 4.5.
Yep.
Okay, that's fair. I'll actually clear that off right now, and then we can make our little silly parlay like we do at the end of every card here.
I think we've lost every parlay we've created so far by at least
we almost won the one for the White House, and then Justin Gaethje ended up pulling off one of the greatest upsets in UFC history.
Yeah, it looks like we had it when Taporia was in the mount, and all of a sudden he didn't have it, right?
Right. So if Taporia had gotten that win, we would have gotten the parlay for that.
Yep.
But the thing is that we just do crazy parlays, putting all our bets together.
I know.
But when we're talking about my best bets, my second one is actually going to be Mansur Abdul Malik. I think it's pretty clear that this one's going to be in Abdul Malik's favor. I want to see something, though, because last night when I was working on this article for Deadspin, there was something really saving where there's a lot of focus in. Okay, now I know where it is. Look at right here at the method of victory.
Okay.
The KO TKO play is only a -115. Decision is +250. Some think that Dustin's experience and his toughness is going to be able to get him the distance. I don't know about that.
I don't know about that, but I do think it is a telling sign, though, that he's a +25 underdog in some of these categories here.
Exactly.
That is a bit of a telling sign.
So, hold on, where is it? In fight props or round props or parlay? Because I have one of my best bet. The best bet is Abdul Malik to win in round 1 or 2. Because last night when I looked at that, absolutely, Rain, 100% agree. I just think, but when I looked at the Abdul Malik to win in rounds 1 or 2, so you have 10 minutes to work with, that was only a -115.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's only -125. That's not a lot of money. That's pretty cheap for this kind of play.
I think so too.
So I think I'm going to go with that. Even if he gets a submission and not a knockout, that's still a round 1 or 2 victory. That's still a win.
It is. It sure is.
And actually, if you're confident in a round 1 or round 2 or an under or overplay,
the odds even get better for all of you out there. Mansour Abdul Malik to win in under a half round, plus 400. Under 1.5 is plus 115. Round 1 KO, plus 200. Round 2 KO, plus 450. But I do like the round 1 or 2 for the safety net of it. And minus 125 still good value, especially if you're pairing it with something like Islam, minus 9.5 at minus 120.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, yeah. And then the fight before that, to open the main card, Edson Barboza, Esteban Ribovic. I'm going to go with Ribovic getting the KO TKO. That's only minus 175. Again, solid value here. What's this note here? In the event of a draw, all bets will be settled as lost. Okay. So Esteban's got to get the win by knockout on that play. And then bonus, my extra credit play from the prelims. Going to prelim number 2, Zan. Neil Magny versus Ramiz Brahimaj. And I focus on that one because I think it's a combination of 2 of the fights here, Zan. I think it's a combination of the Edson Barboza, Esteban Ribovic fight, in that you've got a longtime veteran of the sport taking on an up-and-comer. And I think it has the strategy of the main event of Islam and Ian, where you've got distance management against somebody who pressures and blitzes. I mean, Neil Magny has 80-inch reach, and that has obviously been something very key for him in his UFC career.
He's able to spot everybody.
Right. He's able to keep opponents at bay. He's got some decent, strong cardio. But Brahimaj has some decent potential, considering that he's finished every win that he's ever gotten. He's got some decent striking, although his specialty, his bread and butter, is submission. So you know what? Considering these two, I don't know if I see the fight seeing the final horn. I think one of these guys is going to be able to get the finish on the other. Neil Magny can still get finishes in the late stage of his career. Brahimaj, as I said, has gotten finishes in every victory that he's had, and under 2.5 is minus 135. I think that's great value for needing a finish in the first 12.5 minutes of the fight. That's potentially 15 minutes.
I could see it.
So those are my plays. We got Islam minus 9.5 and minus 120. Mansour minus 125 to win in round 1 or 2. Esteban Ribovic to get a finish, minus 175. And then bonus, Magny versus Brahimaj, under 2.5 rounds.
Okay. By the way, it's like correction for you. It's Brahimaj.
Brahimaj, pardon me. All right.
I know it's a tough one.
Sam, what do you want to add to this?
Oh, so yeah, for mine, it would be slightly different than yours. I wouldn't do the Mansour Abdul Malik fight. I would probably take the Jalen Turner fight to go the distance. That would be a change I would make if I was doing one. So I'd keep Islam minus 9.5 though, for sure.
Fight to go the distance for Turner versus Fernandez?
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
I'd say yes.
275. That's an underdog.
So I'd say that fight goes the distance, as well as the Dern Robertson fight. So I would have 2 yes plays in the same parlay.
Okay. So if where's the fight goes the distance? Yes, for Dern and Robertson. That's only minus 150. That's not bad. So
and then I would take Ribovic by finish over Barboza, and that would be my play.
Okay. So let's see.
I wouldn't do Malik though if it was.
Let me clear out my plays. Let me focus on just yours. You would have a plus 882 parlay, and if you give me a dollar value.
I don't know. You put 50 on it or something.
50?
Yeah.
50?
Yeah.
The payout of that would be $491.
It's not bad.
Yeah. Let me go put all my stuff back now, and let me do the math on mine. Oops, I accidentally cleared out all of mine. Let me go back. Islam, Mansour Abdul Malik. Let me find that again. Round 1 or 2. Here it is. Ribovic. No, I need the knockout. here. And then the under 2.5 for Magny, Neal and Ramiz. That's plus 802. That's not too far off from yours, and the payout's 450.
That's not
All
bad.
right. Now let me add yours into mine, and let's see what happens from there. All right.
It's gonna get crazy.
I know. Well, fight go the distance for the title, for the second title fight, the women's title fight. What was your other fight goes the distance? Turner Fernandez?
Turner Fernandez, yeah.
Oh, that's right, because we agreed on the Barboza Ribovic.
Yep.
So, fight goes the distance. This was the underdog play. Yeah, it's gonna get crazy for this.
Yeah.
Plus 55.41. A $50 bet pays out $2,820.
Yeah.
That's gonna really screw things up.
Yeah.
Tony Fernandez play is gonna screw things up, but I guess I did predict it. Yeah, I'll go the distance with that one. So since you and I are in agreement, you said you wouldn't do this one. This one's too much of a underdog pick for me to do that with. I agree with the Dern Robertson, but we didn't exactly agree with that. This was just a bonus. I've got a feeling, Zain, that you and I are in agreement that Esteban Ribovic getting a finish of Edson Barboza is
the lock of the
week.
Lock of the week. Yep. And if you were to have a backup lock, it would be Islam Makhachev to defend his welterweight title.
Correct. My number 2 would be the minus 9.5 play of Islam over Ian Garry.
Yep.
All right. So that is going to do it for this edition of Fight IQ, the Puncher's Chance. And I want to
we didn't quite make it to 330 viewers as my show did yesterday. I don't know if that's divine intervention for a good card tonight. That's the first thing I said when my show was over. I'm like, shoot, 330 people watched it. This card better be good.
Zain, just remember, I'm coming back on the air tonight after the card, so maybe the viewers are saving up for something.
You never know.
All right, but that's going to do it for the special UFC 330 edition of Fight IQ, the Puncher's Chance. Zain, thank you for joining me.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me on, as always.
Of course. Again, post-show tonight. Right now, we've got it scheduled for 1 a.m. Eastern. I've got a feeling that's probably going to stay if the fights play out as they do. I think that will probably be.
I would argue that you're probably going to be okay. That would be my argument.
I know, I'm saying, but like last month when the Conor Max thing happened quickly, we got on at like 12:30. I think this one's going to be a 1 o'clock start time.
Yeah, good luck with that. I won't be staying up along for the ride with you, but it should be a good post show. Always some good analysis. And shout out to the 206 people who dropped by today. Mm-hmm. Please be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to the ETB Network. To do so, please go to youtube.com/ETB Network. Do so right now if you haven't already. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. That way you get notified of everything that's on the channel. You will see me back tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, for Zanzinger Part 2, where I will recap UFC 330 and so much more, and I will go over how I did on my predictions just for some transparency's sake, Tom, because I know you care about this. My overall UFC record year-to-date is 189, 133, and 4. We are officially 500 through 26 UFC main events. This will be UFC main event number 27 tonight. For those nerds keeping track, for 300-plus fights over to the ledger for the UFC so far. And if Islam Makhachev were to win tonight, that will mean that I will be 3-5 on numbered UFC main events. So we're trying to get to a steady climb, a little bit over 500. We're doing okay. We're not doing as well as I had hoped. We're actually doing much better on the PFL and DWCS fronts so far this year than we're doing UFC. But hopefully it goes well, and we shall see if the fights play out tonight. Once again, just as a reminder, first fight is about an hour and 20 minutes or so. Thanks again to everybody who tuned in. Thanks again, Tom, for having me, and we'll catch you guys soon.
Absolutely. Quickly, just other stuff out of the way. Again, youtube.com/TV Network. Those of you who are watching on X, hit like, repost, quote tweet, or quote post, or quote tweet, as some of us old Twitter heads like to say. And then if you're watching on YouTube, like, comment, hit the notification bell after you hit the subscribe button, and you'll get notified of everything here. Make sure to follow us across social media at Thomas J. Albano for me, at Zain Bando 99 for Zan, at Fight IQ ETV for the show, at Bando's Breakdown for Zan's show, at ETV Network for the network. And yeah, that's going to do it. I'll see you guys tonight about 1 a.m. Eastern or so for the UFC 330 post show. And then I'll see you for the mothership Fight IQ, 7 p.m. Eastern on Monday, where we'll recap everything and then preview the UFC card next week in Sacramento and the PFL card in Tampa for Chris Cyborg's retirement fight.
Yeah, it should be a good weekend of fights next week and through the end of August. But yeah, glad you guys could join us today. Hope you enjoy UFC 330 tonight. And as he said, when the dust all settles, he will be back later tonight to recap it all. I will see you guys tomorrow, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your Saturday. Cheers, everyone.
Take care, everybody. Enjoy the fights.
Thank you. Cheers.